It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to Jeff Grubb's Game Mess. I am outside today because my kids wanted to play, and I figured I could still do this. I could still make this happen. I wanted to do it early this morning because we had the embargo that E3 was going to announce some stuff today. We'll talk about that. That's on this Google Keep list over here. I wanted to do it early this morning, but that wasn't going to happen because my kids kept me up late last night. So yeah, I guess enough about them. You should be able to hear them during this video. Um, I will take some questions here at the end. We'll do that then. Let's go ahead and just talk about the list real quick. I did put Nintendo Wildcard here up at the top. Now let's talk about what that means. I think last year I would put stuff and I would try to keep it in as good a order as possible. This is me. There's no date on the Nintendo Wildcard. All right, no date. I'm just I don't know like what to even suggest. I just think the wild card is back. I do think that they are. We clearly know they said they're going to be a part of this E3 thing. I do think that will look like a Nintendo Direct in June. We'll talk about that in a second. But as far as like between now and then, I would expect maybe some wild card type stuff from them. That could mean like last year as little as a Twitter drop. I don't know exactly. I'm not going to pretend to know. My understanding is something's happening, and then the time frame for that soon, sometime soon. Sorry, I would love to be more specific. Mostly, I'm like, I think it's. I think this one's okay to start talking about now and saying, hey, maybe get a little bit excited for something, but don't expect the moon, don't expect the world, don't expect everything. Um, I think because they clearly have E3 coming up soon, and they'll talk about the stuff more at that point. Um, let's see here. We still have okay. So not much has changed elsewise on this list. Let's see here. I will still say that I think let's just jump past Age of Empires 4. Yeah, the Ace Attorney Orchestra. Mike still is hoping that they're going to announce some new stuff there. Good luck, Mike. Resident Evil Showcase. This new. Okay, this is new. The Flying Wild Hog and Jagex new game reveal. I just put that on there. We'll see if anything comes of that. Then the Final Fantasy Digital Fan Fest. We know that's primarily focused on Final Fantasy 14. And then Mayish Battlefield 6. There's been a lot of rumors going around about Battlefield 6 right now, and I'll say that most of them seem mostly inaccurate. Not all of it. There was a few things here or there, like I think there was one about like levolution. You know how like they talked about levolution, like stuff messing up the level and how weather might have an effect on that. I think that one was accurate. But clearly whatever's happening with Battlefield, stuff is ramping up. That I think that's still coming in May. So keep an eye out for like the announcement in May for that. It could, I'm still saying Mayish on the list. I think that's still fair. But as we get closer, these things get more and more solid, more and more confirmed, and the chances of them moving to like April instead of May shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. But I'm still saying Mayish. I will get to questions here very soon. I got questions here in the chat. If you are watching later on YouTube, I am going to start taking questions from the YouTube, but I just haven't integrated that into my workflow yet because I'm outside. I'm outside. I just barely got this stream going. I'm very excited that we haven't lost any frames, even though I'm on Wi-Fi sitting in my backyard. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I don't want to scroll down. That's not going to work. Okay, so let's talk about this E3 thing. I think that Andy Robinson at VGC's story was mostly probably all accurate, and E3 was like getting kicked around by publishers saying, "Wait, you're going to charge people to try to play demos? No, we're not going to do that. Are you a crazy person?" And I bet that, and so that when they had to come out and say, "Oh no, E3 is going to be all free," it was probably not for a lack of trying to charge for something. Also, I think there was more buy-in from these big companies than I was expecting, and I think that all comes down to E3 softening the ESA softening its position in regards to how much it was going to charge these companies to participate. That's my guess because I don't. I just think that the Microsoft one and the Nintendo ones, for example, I think they are going to take place during that week. They might show up on an E3 branded website, but like, are they like a really actually part of like, did they pay the ESA anything to do these live streams? I think that's very unlikely. They don't need to. I think they were always planning to do it during this time frame, and they said, hey, if you want to like package us up and say that this is part of E3 so that people can feel good about that week, yeah, we'll participate that way. But as for like paying you $100,000 for what? For what? I think that is very unlikely. But yeah, I mean, so who do we have participating? Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Ubisoft, Take Two, Warner Brothers, Konami, and Koch Media. Isn't Koch part of Embracer Group? So it's just Koch underneath. It might be Koch. I can't remember which one's which. Koch is the Evil Brothers. Koch Media is it different? Do you say it different? Whatever. But isn't Koch part of Embracer Group? So it's like just Koch Media is participating. It's weird. Konami. So I don't even want to say it. So that game's probably gonna get announced at E3, right? Silent Hill. That's not my. If you want to know about Silent Hill, you go on Twitter, and you find, I think it's at Nate the Hate 2 or Direct Feed Gaming, and you say, "Hey Nate, where is Silent Hill?" And you could put a bunch of expletives at the end there. That's all him. All right, you leave me alone when it comes to that stuff. But I mean, come on, Konami. Honestly, from Konami, all I want is a Castlevania, the Metroidvania style Castlevania collection for the Switch. Just do that. What's up, big girl? What's up? Oh, is Emmy being mean to you? Okay, well, let me finish this and I'll help. Oh no, you're not touching the microphone. Do you want to come sit up here? Well, then leave the microphone alone. Okay, we're gonna. Yeah, Metal Gear Survive 2. Yes, someone in chat says. Okay, hey, no, let's. Do we need to pause the stream? Yeah, we need to pause it so you can do. Okay, stop touching it. All right, you know what? Let's take questions so I can wrap this up and take care of this child. Here, you want to come sit on my lap? Yeah, there you go. You can be on the video. You can show everybody your Mario shirt. Yeah. Say Super Mario Wahoo. No, okay, you're not going to participate. Okay, so me and Addie here are going to take questions. She just I'm just realizing, like, is YouTube going to get mad at me for having a child on camera? She just wandered on set. I don't know. All right, everybody, let's take some questions from chat. If you have questions, make sure you at me. That'll help me see them. Oh my God, did you just mess with the microphone? Oh my God, you turned us up so much. All right, you're gonna force me to have to edit this. Okay. All right. From OMG Turtles 73, Phil Spencer has said before how they start planning for E3 in January. Have publishers been planning under the pretense that they'll be at E3, or is it more they are reworking their plans to be part of it? No, they are. They've been planning under the pretense that they were going to be holding a virtual event during that time frame this entire time. For this entire time, they expected to be doing something at that time, and that's not changed really. They are participating in E3, whatever that means. That probably just means like putting a logo on their stream or something. Now they're fighting. Hey, let her in. All right, let's see what other questions we got. When is my invite to the podcast? I don't know. Get me on DM. Hot tub stream when? Yes, that's what we should do. Totally. All right. What is Take Two gonna show off? Rockstar, 2K, Kerbal. That sounds about right. Yeah. I mean, what does Take Two normally have? Like in the past couple years, something like that. Okay, well, just wait right there. I'll be done in a second. All right, let's go see some more questions. From Besman Bolden. Will all of WB's games be part of E3, or will it spread it out? Will they have a fandom again? I don't know for sure. My expectation is that they will probably, if they're having an event as part of this E3, it is probably going to be them doing all the work. The publishers doing all the work themselves, and if they're going to do all the work, they're probably going to want to make it worth their while, and then that means they'll probably include most of their stuff. I think that this is going to be like I still think this is going to be a pretty big week. I think this is going to like the week of E3. What is it? June 12th through June 15th. I think this is still going to be like a pretty big event now. They're going to kind of bring that back from where we were before. All right, hang on. I'm going to deal with these kids. Let me scroll back down here. Bunch of questions. All right. Will Sony acquire something like Bluepoint or Housemark, or no more acquisitions ever? No, they'll do more acquisitions. Now she's going to do it. Okay, we'll work with this. So Sony has money that they want to throw around. It's just not as much as Microsoft. So they're not going to make as many acquisitions as Microsoft. That's the big difference. All right. Did you put the kids in jail? I should have. I really should have. Huh? All right. Do you believe the Switch Pro this year with Breath of the Wild 2 as at launch? I I lean towards yes on that. I think that's probably correct. Um, but I think that there's a chance it'll be early next year. I think it'll launch alongside Breath of the Wild 2. Yes. Why is Sony skipping E3 in your opinion? I don't think they want to be associated with E3 after they left E3. I don't think they want to be seen going back to it. If they want to do something like that, they have Gamescom, they have their own stuff. They don't need E3. It's kind of how they view it. And so, like, just because it's digital doesn't mean they're going to go back to E3. I think they don't want to be in a situation where they're going to pay the ESA a bunch of money ever again. I don't think. Here, go play. Oda says Halo Infinite as E3 Xbox opening and Starfield at close. That would be legendary. Do you see it happening, Jeff Grubb? Good question. I think that that's how I view it personally. I mean, that's my hope, really. This is not me coming at it from with any insider knowledge, but like if I were putting together this show and Starfield was ready, like, and that's like that's a big if, but if it's ready, then I would open with Halo Infinite, go deep dive into that, really show people how much work we've been doing on that, say, oh, look how good this game looks now. Pepper in everything else in between. Make sure you have some good like third party stuff. Any sort of really big third party thing that's coming to Game Pass, put it in there as well. And then close with Starfield, and then transition right into the Bethesda with that closer, and say, all right, close with Starfield. Now here's what Bethesda has, and then Bethesda's opening with Starfield, and then they can talk about all their other stuff. And then if they don't have a big closer, that's fine. Starfield should be big enough to the point where it gets all the buzz, and people are really happy with that show overall. From Sir Mammothly, when Nintendo mentioned more Breath of the Wild 2 information later this year in the last Direct, do you think they meant this year's E3 Direct? I think so. Um, I think there's the small chance that they hold off on Zelda stuff until after E3, because they want to talk about Breath of the Wild 2 alongside of the new hardware, and maybe they don't talk about the new hardware at E3. There's a precedent of them doing that in the past, and if they're not going to release the hardware until like November, then they're probably not going to talk about it until September, because they usually talk about this kind of hardware about 2 months out. In all of their hardware recently, it's about 2 months out that they start talking about it. So if they want to combine Zelda and the new hardware, and they don't want to talk about the hardware at E3, then and therefore and thus they might not talk about Breath of the Wild 2 at this E3. I still think there's a good chance that they do, though, and that they talk about Zelda in terms of a 35th anniversary and that sort of stuff. I also think there's a good chance that they don't bring up the 35th anniversary at all, because there's a lot of implications that go along with that. There's a way to like celebrate Zelda and get people to buy a lot of Zelda stuff without having to be on the line for celebrating the 35th anniversary. And if you want to focus your marketing on the new hardware rather than on Zelda specifically, there's reasons to do that, and they might do that. So, the 35th anniversary is just like kind of a made up thing anyhow. They're only going to pull out that card when they feel like they don't have anything else and they need to. I guess I shouldn't say they're only going to do that, but they only have to do that really when they're a situation where they don't have a lot of other stuff going on. From Havoc Judge, enough of this Breath of the Wild 2 talk. How about Mario Kart 9? I am very much on the side of they don't need Mario Kart 9. I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, um, but it continues to sell. And you got to think about it in terms of opportunity cost, right? So you're going to take that team that makes Mario Kart and you're going to have them make another Mario Kart that is basically that I'm sure it will sell. I'm sure it'll have a huge spike. I'm sure it'll do very good. But really, you are just replacing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sales now with Mario Kart 9 sales. Why wouldn't you instead spend that opportunity on doing something new and expanding what can sell to the audience? And I mean, to me, that makes more sense. But I get it. I want Mario Kart 9 as well. Um, I just think there's a very good chance we get through, the first 5, 6, 7 years of the Switch. And depending on however they follow it up or upgrade it over time or iterate, without a new Mario Kart. I think that's very possible. Is there any chance of some big second party Nintendo games announced in the coming months? And you got big in quotes, but not second party. And second party should also be in quotes. There's no such thing as second party, but we all know what you mean. I'm just being pedantic. Um, I think so. Yes, I think so. I think he said it on the podcast. Maybe I shouldn't say because I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him. Um, Someone told me about another game that might be coming from Nintendo. Uh, Nothing major. A sequel to a series we've had in the past. Uh, and the team that would work on that's busy with something else, so maybe they have another team working on that. Um, and I was on. He was when I was doing the Xbox Era podcast. So if anyone listened to that, and if we said that on air, maybe you could say it in the chat and let me know. Um, but yeah, but I think there's a possibility. Yes. All right, I'm scrolling to the bottom. Sorry if I'm skipping questions. I'll try to go back and check a little bit more. Um, do you know anything about Sony's secret San Diego studio? I don't. Sorry. I haven't looked into it too much. From Stalker 2400, is the rumor for day one third-party AAA shooter on Game Pass in the fall true? And which could it be? I think it's probably true. I think Battlefield makes some sense, right? Because they got a close relationship with EA. They EA understands where Battlefield is in terms of the market overall, and that means that it's fighting for position against games that do have like free to play components. Like Call of Duty even has a free to play component and a mobile version. Um, you're saying hello to everybody? um, and so if EA might be thinking, what's a good way to like fight against that while also still making a lot of money up front? And I think Game Pass makes sense. But this is me this is hypothetical. I'm trying to figure it out on the fly here. All right. Let's do a couple more questions and then I'm gonna get back to work. And then I'll have to edit this and post it on YouTube because of these children. Um Lick Chan, Metroid Prime 4 info at E3. No, unfortunately I don't think so. I think that even if it's close to a point where they want to talk about it, that they might not want to talk about it because they were like, let's just hold off until we're much closer and get until we get past a lot of other stuff. So we have all these Zelda games we want to get out and re-released, and Breath of the Wild 2, and a new hardware. Like starting to talk Metroid Prime again at this point when yeah, it's coming and maybe it is like super close, but let's just hold off until we're past all this other stuff and not have to like be in a situation where people are like, okay, you talked about it at last E3 and now it's been a whole other year, why haven't you said anything about it? At this point, just maintain the silence if you're Nintendo and then talk about that game again when you're ready. It sucks, but that's where I'm at with that game and that franchise. um what happened to Hollow Knight and Cuphead? I think it's just. I think it's for both of those games. I think it's about trying to improve the scope and really make those games as big and as good as possible. So that means putting a lot of time and money into it, and they have a lot of time and money, both of those companies. And so when they say, "Hey, we could do this if we just took the time. Like we have enough money, we just need more time." Um, and when they sort of get those like big ideas in their head, it's kind of hard to like fight them off and say no. let's just put it out. Let's not do this thing that would make the game go from like great to greater. They're going to try to do as much as they can because they have a. These are companies that have invested a lot in these properties, and the success of these games going forward is going to determine the future of these indie developers. So I get it. Of course, there's also COVID stuff, but I imagine all these studios are pretty good at working around that, as opposed to like major corporations. Um, from Dabby30, hey Jeff, any word out of Sony's camp on how they feel about the Game Pass deal between MLB and Xbox? No word. I haven't heard one thing or the other. But I think we can guess that they probably aren't too thrilled about it, right? This is probably something that they're mostly. They know how it makes them look. They get it. I think that they've done a lot of work to try to make the PS5 very appealing. It has worked. The PS5 very appealing as a console. But some of their moves are looking a little bit archaic. They're looking a little bit like they are applying to an old world that is going away, and that's like spending a lot of money on like third-party exclusives. And while that is cool to a point, really, what does that do for us as gamers? If I already have a PS5 and you're just paying to keep Final Fantasy 16 off of other systems, what does that really get me? Now, it's not that simple, of course, right? Sony pays Square Enix to keep Final Fantasy 16 off of other systems, but also they're making sure that the game gets done quicker. They're helping them to make sure it can be the best game it possibly can be. They're helping them with marketing. They're incentivizing Square Enix to get the game finished on time, and so there are benefits to the player. But from the optics standpoint, really what it comes down to is they are paying money to a publisher to stop other people from playing this game. And really, what does that do for a person who owns a PS5? Not a whole lot. And so Sony clearly sees, like, when Microsoft goes out and spends similar money to just make a Sony game, free or, no additional cost. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, everyone understands what that makes Sony look like. And I imagine that they are always discussing ways to respond to this, to come back and say, hey, how can we shift things? And I think a lot of that is what they've already done, and it comes down to PS Plus and focusing on adding good deals there, and play at home stuff that they've done. I don't think that they are. I think the MLB deal makes them look a little bit silly and out of touch, but it's not some catastrophic thing. For the most part, Sony looks like they're trying to create the best deal possible for PlayStation 5 owners, and that's not changing. And they're going to keep working towards making everything they do feel like a good deal, especially with PS Plus. Not so much with PS Now, clearly, but they'll find more ways to create value with PS Plus. And the people who bought into the PlayStation 5 ecosystem are going to benefit. All right, let's do one more question, and I'm going to wrap things up. Let's see if I can find a good one. Oh, you want a Happy Meal? That sounds like a good plan. All right, kiddo. Let me answer this question, then we'll go get a Happy Meal. From Hero 5700, how can indies break into the news cycle in June with E3 coming back and showcases being put out and being put into the same week again? So this is a tough one, and I think that I will say that showcases aren't all going to be put back in the same week. There will be a bunch of them, but I wouldn't expect that 1 week to be as jam-packed as past weeks have been. I still think that things are going to spread out, and the companies listed there will have stuff that week, but everyone else might sort of start to fill in other weeks. And like I said in previous streams like this, there are definitely companies who are already who were planning to go into June. They are now moving their stuff into July. So stuff's already moving a whole month. And we're not even out of, we're at the beginning of April still. Excuse me. But still, when it comes to indies, they're in a tough spot because we see how these other showcases do. Like, we had a few showcases recently, new ones. What was that? The Future Game Show, right? There was like 10,000 people, 10,000 concurrents or something like that. Maybe probably like 20,000 if you count all the platforms or something. And that's fine, but it's not massive. And I think a lot of times, like, smaller publishers are paying to sponsor those shows. And at that point, maybe I think there's going to be a lot of companies asking, is it worth it to take part in these smaller indie presentations? when we could take that same money and give it to an influencer, give it to a streamer who has 80,000 people watching it at any one time, or who regularly gets 1 million views on YouTube, and we can take that same money and get much better results. Um, it's a tough situation. So like if like I think all of us were like looking to these presentations to sort of pick up the slack. Summer Game Mess. There's 50 things on the Summer Game Mess calendar. Are all these events going to be exciting? No, we've already seen that most of the time you could show up for these things and they are pretty bland. There's going to be some cool games, but you're paying to watch commercials, and a lot of times it's for games that you have no idea if you're going to be excited for until you actually play them. And that is a very difficult proposition to get 100,000 people or whatever to watch live at any one time. So for indie games, I think my guess is if you don't get into one of the main shows with like Microsoft or Nintendo, if you're not like part of Game Pass, if you are if you can't get in with Sony or something like that, then instead of trying to go like into one of these other smaller showcases, I mean, maybe do it if they're free. If someone's inviting you to be on one of these smaller showcases, absolutely, just go participate in that. But if you have a marketing budget, I personally, if I was in charge of one of these smaller indie, labels, I would take that money and I would pay an influencer instead. I would pay a streamer. I would pay a group of streamers and have them all coordinate to play it together one night or something like that, or through a week or something like that. And I think your money's going to go a lot further than trying to sponsor one of these other shows. It's just they're kind of in a different league. So yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. What's the Nintendo wild card? You know what? I'm not exactly sure what it is. I've heard a couple things. I haven't been able to confirm anything one or the other. So it's like I would say conflicting like stuff, but mostly just means like I've heard a bunch. I don't know who to believe, and so I'm not going to say that I know because I don't. So, but I do know something's coming. I'll say that much. I'm pretty sure. But in terms of timing, that's why there's no date, nothing like that. Nintendo could be a wild card. They could just drop stuff on Twitter. So who knows? All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye. You say goodbye, Emmy. Bye bye.